What's your "they messed with the wrong person" moment? My stepmother Linda convinced my dad to remove me from his will after my mom died, claiming I was financially irresponsible and didn't deserve the family business. What she didn't know was that I'm a corporate lawyer who specializes in estate planning. Linda married my dad when I was 22, right after my mom lost her battle with cancer. She immediately started poisoning him against me, claiming I was just waiting around for inheritance money instead of building my own life. She's never worked a real job, Linda would tell him during family dinners, right in front of me. All that expensive college, and for what? She just expects everything handed to her. I was actually finishing law school on a full scholarship and working 30 hours a week at a firm, but Linda had convinced my dad that my law degree was just an excuse to avoid real work. The breaking point came last Christmas when Linda handed me a gift box in front of the entire extended family. Inside was a McDonald's job application, with a note, "Time to start earning your place in this family." Everyone laughed awkwardly while I just smiled and said, "Thanks, Linda. Very thoughtful." 2 weeks later, my dad called to tell me he was updating his will. "Linda thinks it's best if the business goes to someone who understands hard work," he explained. "Maybe this will motivate you to finally get serious about life." Instead of arguing, I just said, "I understand, Dad. You have to do what you think is right." What my dad didn't know was that Linda had been systematically draining his business accounts for the past 3 years. She'd convinced him to make her the bookkeeper to help reduce costs, then started writing herself checks for consulting fees and administrative expenses. As a lawyer, I recognized the signs immediately. When someone is that eager to cut out potential heirs, they're usually hiding something big. So I did what any good lawyer would do. I started investigating. I spent my weekends at the courthouse, pulling business filing, tax records, and corporate documents. Linda had been sloppy, really slop. Over 3 years, she'd embezzled $340,000 from my dad's construction company. Fake vendor payments to shell companies she'd created. Inflated supply costs, where she kept the difference. Even payroll fraud, where she'd added fictitious employees and pocketed their salaries. But here's the beautiful part. By removing me from the will, Linda had unknowingly triggered a legal review of the estate. As a disinherited heir, I had the right to request a full financial audit of any assets that would have been mine. I filed the petition through a colleague so my name wouldn't appear on the paperwork. The court-ordered audit was scheduled for the following month. 2 weeks before the audit, Linda panicked and tried to cover her track. She suddenly discovered accounting errors and started frantically moving money around, trying to repay what she'd stolen. But it was too late. The forensic accountants found everything. The day the audit results came out, I got a call from my dad. His voice was shaking. "The accountants found some irregularities," he said quietly. "Linda's been stealing from the business. A lot of money." "I'm so sorry, Dad," I said, letting him process the betrayal. "There's something else," he continued. "My lawyer says because you were removed from the will right before this all came to light, you might have grounds to challenge the changes. He thinks Linda influenced me to cut you out specifically to avoid getting caught. What do you want to do, Dad?" There was a long pause. "I want to make this right. All of it." The next week, Linda was arrested for embezzlement and fraud. My dad immediately restored my inheritance and fired her as bookkeeper. But the real justice came during her sentencing hearing. The judge asked if anyone wanted to make a victim impact statement. I stood up. "Your Honor, I'd like to read from a note the defendant gave me last Christmas." I pulled out Linda's McDonald's application note and read it aloud. "Time to start earning your place in this family." I looked directly at Linda, who was sobbing at the defendant's table. "Well, Linda, I finally got that job you wanted me to have, as the lead prosecutor's consultant on your case. Turns out my law degree was useful after all." She got 4 years in prison. My dad and I rebuilt our relationship, and I kept that McDonald's application framed in my office as a reminder that sometimes the best revenge is just being really good at your job.